Europa's Blood, a novel by James Daniel Shunk. In our last chapter, the battleship Warclaw escaped XO-1 from the Stinger attack and was headed toward the Time Machine Key exchange point. While they traveled to the rendezvous point, the state's supreme leader contacted them and encouraged the meeting. But U-Jin Song and Pitzy knew that the key is only bait. They want to first give the Anaborg team attempting to secure Europa sufficient time to finish the job, and second, for them to find a way to steal back the time machine. But in the end, they had no plan to give Ramus the key, as it would give him access to a working time machine, potentially the most dangerous thing ever created. Chapter 18, Into the Abyss. Heavy snow blanketed Europa's Galileo station. The cyclonic wind that usually swirled around the surface was now unusually peaceful. Under those white drifts was the water-pumping facility. Nyala, along with Jarbhara the Indian and Nioki the Silverback, rode the elevator down from the reactor to the freshwater pumping station below the icy crust. The elevator was safe, with the explosives in the subsystem control room deactivated. Whoever was waiting for them below would attempt to detonate the explosives remotely, making the elevator useless. The infiltration team would be shocked to discover that they could not stop the elevator, but it would still give them an advantage. They would know someone was coming for them. As the elevator bounced to a stop, the doors hissed back, revealing a large, round, dimly lit room. The ocean of fresh water was kept out by thick, contoured glass. A large, prehistoric-looking fish was visible, occasionally swimming close by. In the middle, filling most of the room, was the majestic pump. Its function was to draw water from around the station and move it to holding tanks above the surface. "Spread out," Nyala said quietly. "If anything happens to this pump, it could start a chain reaction that would shut down the security system of the whole moon. All backup power goes into keeping this pump functional, and its failure, beasts, would lead to all-out war." She growled quietly. "I need not remind you." "Understood," Jarbhara said quietly. Nioki was inspecting the pump. "We must do all we can to protect our kinfolk," Nyala snarled. "Our blood will be the sacrifice." Nioki waved. "Captain, over here!" Circling the pump, spaced periodically, were heavy steel braces that bolted the pump machine to the steel floor. On each of these braces was a power generator. On each of those was an explosive device with the digital readout on the detonator counting backward. "They're on every generator." He pointed to another device to the right. "The counters are at 30 minutes. "Preserve our blood," Nyala said under her breath. "Jarbhara, can you disable these?" Before Jarbhara could answer, laser blasts rained down all around them. The team jumped in different directions as the floor fragmented, sending hot splashes of glowing metal in every direction. As Nyala rolled, she saw the source of the blasts, a catwalk above the windows. She quickly pulled up her crossbow and flipped off the safety. She ducked down behind heavy metal drums that had been stacked too high along the glass. From her position, she had a good view of a big man lying prostrate above. His face was hidden behind a scope, and he was partially protected by the clear blast shield of his Scorpion rifle. She returned fire, watching the photon arrows hit the mark. She saw fire erupt around the catwalk. As the saboteur ducked his head, she hurried across the floor to one of the water pump's thick support legs. More blasts landed around her position. "Is everyone okay? There's one Dreg saboteur above the windows." "On a catwalk!" Nyala yelled. Nioki was crouched behind another leg of the pump. "I'm in one piece, Captain." "Indian," Nyala said. "Report. Where are you?" "Over here." Jarbhara had ducked behind large packing crates farther up the wall. When Nyala looked over, she saw the Indian elephant on the floor. "Jarbhara, I see you." He closed his eyes and hunched down as laser blasts began to fall around him. "If we just sit here, we will be reduced to ribbons." "I'm pinned down, Captain," Nioki said. Nyala looked up quickly and returned fire. "Don't hit the windows," Jarbhara yelled. "One stray blast and the whole room will be flooded." Nyala brought up her weapon and fired again, this time aiming down the sights. A constant white flash appeared around the human, but his blast shield saved him. Smoke quickly obscured her view. She ducked down when a blast came out of the smoke and landed by her head. She felt a searing pain on the side of her head. "Black sun," she said with a groan. "Nyala?" Nioki said. "What are we going to do? We can't just sit here and—" Jarbhara cut him off. "Captain, you'd better take a look behind you. Did you hear me?" Nyala turned back to see a high pile of crates fall hard to the floor. "What?" She was not sure what was happening at first. As the crates rolled away, a war mech stepped forward with its laser Gatling gun trained on her. "Freeze, Anneborg," the robot said in a menacing robotic tone, "or I will shoot." A small red dot from the war mech's laser sight was trained over Nyala's heart. The moment she saw this, she sprang with lightning-fast speed. This was a unique skill of Big Cat's. Laser energy blasts followed her as she scrambled along the floor toward the metal drums. Laser blasts continued to erupt at her heels. Jarbhara took this opportunity to move from his position. With the saboteur in a cloud of smoke and the war mech distracted by Nyala, he scrambled to Nioki. With a final burst of power, Nyala dove behind metal drums. She crouched down as laser fire landed around her. She was showered in a heavy green liquid when some of the drums were pierced. "Captain!" Jarbhara yelled. "Are you all right?" "Still alive. However, these drums are full of very flammable hydraulic fluid." She knew the machine did not care about self-preservation. It only cared about finishing its mission. "It will kill us all!" The war mech stepped forward. Its internal processors had already made the same calculation. The laser Gatling gun folded down, and a flamethrower folded up. "Nyala," Jarbhara said. The flamethrower locked into place, and a small blue flame ignited at the end of the barrel. "Nyala!" Jarbhara yelled again. She did not answer. Jarbhara and Nioki were still pinned down. Each time they attempted to look at Nyala's situation, laser fire landed around them from the catwalk. "Silverback, we have to do something," Jarbhara said. "I agree. But what?" Jarbhara gave him a determined look, pulled a stun grenade off his belt, and slapped it into Nioki's hand. "You will need this. Honor with us all, beast." He jumped up, pulled one more from his gear belt, and yanked the security pin with his teeth. He pressed down on the activation button and tossed it in the saboteur's direction as he ran. The grenade slid up to the wall under the catwalk. Jarbhara felt the hide of his trapezius peel away as an energy blast passed by his shoulder. It was the last shot the saboteur would get off. He spotted the explosive device and ducked his head at the last second. This gave Jarbhara the time he needed. He trumpeted as he charged toward Nyala's position. Nioki shrugged. The great Jarbhara, they will say. He got up and sprinted after. Jarbhara heard the explosion behind him as he made his way around the water pump at a full-out run, which was slow for an Indian elephant. He felt the wind on his back. When he saw the large war mech, he could see the flamethrower poised. "Nyala, move!" As the flamethrower erupted, the agile cat jumped from her position. The green liquid caught fire, and the barrels began to explode. Jarbhara stepped up on the leg of the pump and propelled himself into the air. At this last moment, he threw his mace like a knife. The war mech spotted the elephant and rotated to blast him with fire. The mace crashed into its optical sensors, giving the precious seconds needed for what would happen next. Nyoki, who was close behind, pulled the pin on his grenade, activated it, and tossed it. It hit the floor and rolled up to the feet of the mech. Nyala covered her head as the device exploded. The war machine stepped back to avoid the direct explosion, but too slowly was caught in the blast and began to topple. Jarbhara's thick body crashed hard into the slightly bigger machine. The two fell to the floor. Before Jarbhara could climb to his feet, Nyoki was already on top of the twisting robot, with Nyoki's graviton-powered brass knuckles crashing down, repeatedly smashing the war mech's head and breastplate. The machine sagged as its power was disrupted. Smoke began to roll from it. Nyala was up now and standing next to Nyoki with her crossbow at full alert. The machine struggled to move one last time, sagged, and died. The glowing red panoramic lens that circled the robot's domed head now faded away in its last electronic gasp for breath. Fire-retardant sprinkler heads lowered from the ceiling, raining chemicals. Now standing in the rain, Nyala patted Jarbhara, who was still lying on the war mech. "You move like a cat." Jarbhara struggled several times to get up. "I think I broke something. For sure, I could have definitely broken something." Nyala was thinking of the next part of the mission. Already she was turning away from Jarbhara. "You're fine. Get up quickly." Nyoki gave the Indian a hand, pulling him to his feet. The fire was already out, and the sprinkler heads vanished into the ceiling. Jarbhara used Nyala to brace his weight. "My shoulder." Nyala saw the blood. "You're injured." Jarbhara groaned. "So are you. Part of your ear is gone." He slowly rotated his arm and grimaced. "I'll be fine." Nyala's eyes were darting around the smoke-filled room. "Jarbhara, I need you to work on these bombs." She pointed toward the saboteur's position. "Nyoki, I need you to make your way to the catwalk ladder. I will cover you." The gorilla pointed with his thumb over his shoulder. "The pink skin is gone." "Black sun!" Nyala cursed as she dropped her crossbow, letting it swing from its strap behind her back. Incredibly elusive for a big man. Jarbhara put his trunk on Nyala's shoulder. "Captain, it's time to send the public beacon. Everyone needs to know what's happening here." Nyala's finger moved around the touch screen of her pad watch, forwarding a signal to a receiver on the surface. This sent a message to be relayed via Jupiter's old satellite network. This pre-recorded message would be heard not only on Jupiter and Mars, but even on Earth. Song was at the controls of a rust-covered Warclaw shuttle. It was easy enough to pilot. Most of the systems had been preset, and he had been given clear instructions on how to dock it at the Anaborg vessel called the Flying Fox. He would be fine if nothing out of the ordinary happened. Off to the left, hung two state warships, one larger, one smaller. He knew that the lightship had been the one that had been tracking them since Mars, and the Scimitar was the Supreme Leader's private warship. Behind the two vessels loomed the giant planet of Jupiter. Below him, at 1,000 feet, were two linked ships, the state shuttle and the damaged Anaborg vessel. Captain Appleyard watched from the bridge of the lightship as the small shuttle piloted by Song slowly made its way across the expanse. Tactical. How many bio readings on that ship? 1, Skipper. Good. Are there any weapons? They stuck to the deal. I'm not picking up any laser gun readings. Copy all this to the Supreme Leader. Aye, Skipper. Song's ship maneuvered next to the Anaborg vessel. It took him several attempts to dock it. Just move into the Flying Fox's airlock ring, he had been instructed. The ship will do the rest. It was more difficult than he had expected. Finally, with a proper clank, a green light lit on the control panel. The shuttle was locked, and the gate was pressurized. Song heard Pitzy's voice through his earbud mic. She said, "Can you hear me?" He answered calmly, "Yes." "Look," Pitzy said, "forward kill just checked in. The whole pumping station is wired. Until they neutralize the bombs, you cannot offer to turn over the key. Understand? We're sure that the Supreme Leader can remotely detonate at any time. They will blow the pump as soon as they have that key, so give the team on the ground as much time as possible." "Acknowledged," Song said. His, and everyone's, worst nightmares had been realized. Europa had been infiltrated and was now vulnerable to the state armada, something Mars had never thought possible. They had said that Europa was impenetrable. That was their reason for not sending war cruisers in aid. Did Mars believe that the state would get bored and leave? Mars had been wrong to underestimate the state. He closed his eyes and took a deep breath. A prayer came to mind, one he had learned as a child. His mother had recited it to him every bedtime when he was young. Now Song's words were just above a whisper. "Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us." Song had forgotten about his two-way link. His words could be heard on the bridge of the War Claw. Pitzy had started to cry. All other bridge staff just looked at each other in a sort of respectful silence. Song continued, "Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil." He made the sign of the cross. He wondered what had happened. Why had he fallen away from the church? So many things had seemed to pull him away from his spirituality. His school, friends, and even his family. It had only been his mother that had seen the value in faith. He needed her now. He decided he would start praying each day, not just in a crisis. If he lived through this. He buried the feelings for now. This was not the time to be emotional. 25 minutes to Earth's Harvest Fest, Pitzy said softly into his ear. "Remember, no matter what, you have life ever after." "Amen," he said quietly. He wanted to hear God now, but how could anyone hear God over the screams of life? Still, maybe people liked the noise. It covered up these questions of faith. At this moment, the thought of life after death did not bring him much comfort. He was filled with fear. What did his youth counselor say? No fear in faith, and no faith in fear. God pressed on him again. If you return and be quiet, you shall be saved. In silence and in hope shall your strength be. So that was it. Have faith. This would have to be his anchor. He shut down the systems on the shuttle as he had been instructed. He moved quickly through the ship and pressed the door release next to the hatch. His heart raced. He wondered if anyone would be on the other side of the airlock. The red button flashed green, and with a hiss, the door slid up. He stepped into the airlock and opened the adjacent door. The passageway was empty. Seconds later, Song was making his way through the Jupiterian warship. He walked down the central passage. A few moments later, he was at the door leading into the command chamber. He knew behind the door were the Supreme Leader and the captured Anaborgs. "I'm at the door," he whispered. "Understood. Proceed with caution." He looked at his wristwatch. 24 minutes and 37 seconds to the Harvest Fest. He hit the door release.